Hi guys! Welcome to Champ's Japanese Kitchen! Thank you for so many comments every time, and I'm very grateful to be connected with so many people all around the world. And I noticed many of you guys want me to make a dish, and one of the most popular dishes here in Japan, ramen. So today, we're gonna make simple but tasty, and of course, healthy ramen. So, let's get cooking! Okay guys, we're going to be making Shio ramen, which is a ramen with a salt-based broth, which has a little bit of a lighter flavor than other ramen. Also, while this ramen isn't so complicated to make, it does require a lot of preparation. So, there are a few things you will have to get ready, maybe the day before or even earlier in the day. The first is the pork chashu. We're going to be using a block of pork belly around 3 cm thick, which we'll leave at room temperature for an hour before we start. Get rid of any moisture with a paper towel first, and we'll start by tying it up tightly with kitchen twine. We do this so the pork remains juicy after we cook it, and it helps to keep its shape. You want to tie it up around and around the pork and close the knot tightly. And then do the same lengthwise. That's our little pork package done. Next, we'll make the marinade for our chashu. Take a Ziploc bag and add 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of mirin, half a tablespoon of Japanese cooking sake, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of salt. We'll also add 1 clove of sliced garlic and about the same amount of ginger. Add your pork and it's time for the next step. The trick to cooking pork chashu juicy and tender is to simmer it at low temperature to prevent the protein from solidifying. I'm using a low temperature cooker here that will keep a pot of water at about 63 degrees Celsius. You can do the same thing with a regular pot on the gas stove, but you need to keep it at the same temperature, so I recommend to use a cooking thermometer. After all, melted plastic isn't the flavor we're looking for here. Now that I've put the bag in the water, we need to squeeze out any air so it doesn't float and cook unevenly. Once that's done, I will let this cook for about 80 minutes. Of course, there are other ways to make chashu, but maybe this is the easiest. Next up is another part of the recipe that takes a bit of time. We need to soak the ingredients we use to flavor our ramen broth. I have 10 grams of dried kelp or kombu here, and 20 grams of dried niboshi sardines. We need to let these soak for at least 30 minutes, but preferably an hour, in about 1 liter of water. Might be a good idea to do this while you're cooking the chashu, right? Okay, now time for another topping we have to prepare beforehand. Aji-Tama, or marinated soft-boiled eggs. Before we put our egg into boiling water, I'm going to poke a small hole in each egg with a drawing pin on the rounder side of the egg. This will help us peel them easier later. Once you've made a hole, place them in the boiling water and we will let this cook for 6 minutes. I recommend to use room temperature eggs for a better result. Once 6 minutes is up, we want to drain these and immediately put into cold water. Keep them under running cold water for maybe a minute, and then we can peel them. Keeping the tap running here will also make the process quicker. Next, we need to make the marinade for our eggs. Let's add 7 tablespoons of soy sauce, 4 tablespoons of water, 1 tablespoon of mirin, 1 teaspoon of cooking sake, and 1 teaspoon of sugar to a Ziploc bag like we did for our chashu. Mix well and add your eggs. Then let them sit for at least 30 minutes or more. Okay, that's everything that requires a lot of prep time. Phew! Good work, guys! Now we're going to continue making the broth for our ramen. Take the ingredients from before that we're soaking and let's run the water through a sieve into a saucepan or a stock pot. Next up, we're going to add a deeper flavor to our ramen. I'm going to add 450 grams of minced chicken breast to the water and break this all apart with a wooden spoon or a spatula. You could use chicken stock for this instead, but I think this really improves the flavor. Now we've added all our chicken. We want to put this on a medium heat and keep stirring. If we leave it to boil, the chicken will clump up at the bottom, which we want to avoid. We'll also add back our kombu and niboshi sardines from before and keep stirring. This is kind of a slow process, but once the broth reaches about 60 degrees Celsius, you will start to see the protein from the chicken float to the top. This is when you can stop stirring. But before our soup starts to boil, we want to take out the kombu because leaving this in will make it taste a little bit bitter. Now, we'll put the lid on our saucepan, turn down the heat, and let simmer for 30 minutes. Check up on it occasionally and remove any of the foam that surfaces on the top of the liquid. This will help improve the taste. Wow guys, we've been cooking for a while, right? Don't worry, almost done. Once our soup has been simmering for 30 minutes, we will drain everything out. And here we have it. Our ramen broth is done, guys. Next, we want to add a little bit of green onion to our ramen, but we're actually going to use the outer and inner part of the onion here in different ways. The outer part we will peel off after making a slice down the onion and cut into thin strips. Let this soak in water for about 5 minutes to get rid of any strong onion flavor. We will add this to give a little bit of an accent to our ramen soup. Then the inner part we will make into small slices, which will be a nice topping and to add some color. Speaking of toppings, how about those eggs we made? Aji-Tama. Let's cut them open now. They've marinated well and oh, look at that! Perfectly cooked. A little bit runny in the middle and great addition to our ramen. Good job everyone! Now for our chashu. We finished cooking this on a low heat for 80 minutes and it's time to braise it. First, remove the kitchen twine and next, I'm gonna use a cooking blowtorch to get a nice smoky flavor. But you could even do this in the oven or with a frying pan. We just want to cook the outside of it more. Give the fat of the outside a bit of a char and don't let the power get to your head. Sorry, fire just does that to me. We've got a nice char on our pork and now it's time to cut this open. Wipe off some of the melted fat and looking good. This may look a bit pink in the middle, but actually this is the color chashu usually is, and since we've cooked it for so long, it's perfectly safe and cooked through. Now for the last step, the noodles. Okay, so let's cook the noodle. Usually here in Japan, we can buy this kind of fresh noodles anywhere, but maybe it's hard to find in your country. So I chose this dry noodle for ramen. So let's make it. We will cook these in boiling water for however long it's stated on the package. A good tip here is to warm your bowl with some of this boiling water beforehand. This will keep your ramen warmer for longer while you eat. Now, just before the noodles are done, we will get rid of that water in the bowl, add a teaspoon of salt to the bottom of our dish, and then pour in 360 milliliter of our broth, which I've heated up again. Give that a stir, drain the noodles that are now perfectly cooked, add them to the soup, add your toppings, and okay, so ramen is ready to eat. Wonderful smell. This chicken smell and the braised pork chashu smells harmonies are so rich. I can't wait to eat it. いただきます。Let's drink the soup first. これはラーメン屋の味です。This is ramen shop's flavor, professional flavor. So good. So let's eat the noodle. Mm. プリプリしてる麺が。これは美味しいな。つるっとする。This is dry noodle, but almost like a fresh noodle. So nice. So let's eat this braised chashu, pork. I can believe it, this pork. This pork is so soft and very juicy. And this braised flavor, it's nostalgic, wonderful. In Japan, there are so many ramen shops. And some of the ramen shop is, many people, 行列のできる店. This is going to be 行列 ramen. So nice. When I was a fighter, about 15 years ago, I was fighting as a heavyweight fighter. Right now, I'm about 80 kilograms. But when I was a fighter, I had almost 95 kilograms. So I had to take lots of calories. I ate ramen almost every week. So I really love ramen. Okay? So after we finish eating, we all say, ごちそうさまでした。